I've lived in Houston for a little over a year now, and people keep asking me to make an update video, so here it is.
Something about this girl, man, from around my way. Ever try to hold back your feelings, but it just wouldn't say. But when I finally found the words to say.
Let me start by saying, if you're a Houston native and you feel some type of way about people coming from your city, please click out. This is not the video for you, okay? Because I'm going to be talking about the good and the bad. And sometimes you'll be having blinders on. You can't see the bad. I'm going to try to make this video structured. Like, I even took notes. But this topic will lead into this topic, which will lead into this topic. So we might go a little off script. So please bear with me. But without further ado, here's my experience living in Houston. So first and foremost, let's talk about friendships and meeting people. So I'm pretty personable and outgoing, so it's not really difficult for me to make friends anywhere I go. So I made friends within the first month of me moving here. Thankfully, I knew a couple people down here already who introduced me to their friends, and those people introduced me to their friends, and so on and so on. So my network grew pretty exponentially. I've also met up with some people from social media like TikTok and Instagram, so that's been good as well. I've had people say they're struggling to make friends out here, but then there'll be a homebody who doesn't go out, or they'll flake on invitations from people who they meet through social media, things like that. And like, you can't expect to make friendships out here if you're not putting in that effort to get to know people. Like, people aren't just going to befriend you when you just moved here. I know people are shy, not maybe as outgoing as I am, which is okay, but like, you gotta push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit if that is your goal. I will say that it can be difficult to form deep connections, genuine bonds with people, primarily those who are from here, who have like lived here for years, have years worth of memories, years worth of friendships. Like, there are certain conversations you can't be a part of because you weren't there for that. Or, you know, you're not gonna be the first person they think of when they are trying to hit somebody up or invite somebody out because they already have their set groups of friends. That's okay. Just connect with people who are in your same boat. Like, Houston has people moving here constantly. My closest friendships are with people who move down here too. Another thing to think about that may not have much of an impact on you, but just to be aware of, a lot of the people here don't have like corporate 9-to-5 jobs. There are a lot of bartenders, bottle girls, promoters, creatives, entrepreneurs, things like that. So if you are looking for people in that corporate industry, like if you're in tech, for example, like I am, you may have to go a little out of your way to find people in that group. But if that doesn't matter to you, then making friends should be pretty simple once you actually put yourself out there. Everyone keeps asking me about my dating life here, so here's the tea. I'll preface this by saying I was talking to someone from here before I moved down here. Like, we met when I came out to look at apartments, so when I did move down here, we were kind of locked in. Like, he was the only guy I was dating. So moving to a new city, my immediate goals were to make friends, you know, explore the city, really settle in. I wasn't really prioritizing dating. I do wish I would have not been so focused on that relationship and kind of like got out more. I feel like my experience would have been different. Dating would have been more fun, but that's in the past. Anyway, once that ended and I was a little more comfortable here, I did start going on a lot more dates, and they've been good. Men are very chivalrous, you know, opening doors, nice to look at, don't mind spending. I will say that the African community down here is pretty tight-knit, and I tend to lead towards dating Africans because I'm Nigerian. So it's like, once I met a few people, I was feeling like I met them all. Always the same people every time I go out to kickbacks, pool parties, anything like that. Like, damn, you again? When it comes to meeting people like out in the nightlife scene, it's kind of difficult because Houston is so section heavy. And I'll talk about this more in a minute, but it's like you can see a fine man across the club and not really get a chance to talk to him unless it's like out the let out or something. So it really does come down to intentionally putting yourself in places where you can meet and easily talk to men. I haven't done that because dating hasn't been a priority for me, but maybe this year. I have tried the dating apps out here. So I downloaded Hinge, and when I tell you I swiped through like 100 profiles and didn't swipe right on a single person, like, I think I just have a very specific type. Like, I want someone who easily meshes well with my culture. And since Houston has, like, it's very diverse, has people coming in from everywhere, it is kind of hard to find that person through these apps. So if you're more open than I am, these apps might work better for you, but I'm just not there yet. I did also try BLK, and I found a few good men on there, so that was good. But you have to weed through a lot of weirdos. Like I said, people are coming in from everywhere, so it can get really overwhelming. So I did stop using that app as well. Again, similar to the friend thing, a lot of the men down here do not work regular 9-to-5 jobs. Like, you'll probably come across a few scammers, and if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you like, don't mind it, more power to you. But it's not for me. Maybe once upon a time, but it's not for me. Also, the men down here are less sassy than the ones from back home. Like, they're really providers and treat women well. And before y'all start saying, oh, the men in Maryland didn't do this, that, and the third for you, oh, they must have hated you, oh, I can blink and my rent gets paid. Like, just know the men who I've dated have treated me well. I'm talking generally, like strangers who don't want a thing from you will go out of their way to help you. I don't know if it's because up north people are just always on go, always on the move, just focus on themselves, but Southern hospitality is a real thing. It's actually been a huge culture shift I've experienced since moving down here when it comes to this. Like, I feel like the women down here are more dependent on men. Like, they're more submissive just because of how they were raised, so the men here take on more of a leadership role. Whereas up north, the women are generally more independent, I don't need a man type vibes, which is what I was used to. So coming down here, it has been nice to not always have to be like girl boss and, you know, just let men treat me like a princess. On the other hand of this, the men here are a little more misogynistic. Like, definitely a woman should know her place type vibes compared to the men from back home, who, you know, are a little more progressive in how they view women. But that could just be my experience, so let me know. Where do I even start? I guess we can go back to what I was saying about the section culture here in Houston. All the poppin' clubs are just section after section after section. No dance floor, just tables in a bathroom. And don't get me wrong, I love me a good section, especially when I'm wearing heels, smoking hookah, but I also like to, you know, walk around, mingle, and meet new people. You can't really do that here. Like, you can't just walk into somebody's section and start talking to people unless you want to look crazy. Basically, whatever group you showed up to the club with is who you'll be interacting with the whole time, unless you like bump into somebody on the way to the bathroom, or, you know, it's the club closes and you guys are walking outside, get to talk, you know, things like that. And a lot of the time people are just standing around not dancing. Like, most of the clubs people talk about, like camp, playground, you know, where the celebrities usually come when they're visiting Houston, just be boring to me. However, that after hours spots, a whole different vibe. I love me a good after hours spot. I feel like everyone's already lit from whatever club they were at previously. You know, there's the ones I go to, at least there's a dance floor available, so we were actually dancing, turning up, having a good time till like 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I won't even go to a regular 10 to 2 club. I'll pop out of the house at like 2:30 ready to go. Also, if you've been to DC and are familiar with like U Street, DuPont, Houston doesn't really have a place like that. And I really wish they did. For those who aren't familiar, it's kind of like a strip of bars, clubs, where you can just like walk and go into this one, walk out, go to another one, like all on the same street. They do have Washington Ave, but like that's not really my scene, not really my crowd. Like, they be playing EDM and stuff like that, and I don't listen to that music, but that's kind of like primarily what you'll find on Washington Ave. So I wish they had more of something that appeals to me. And finally, the Sunday fun day here is lacking, okay? I miss being able to go to brunch, then to a day party, then to a night party, no breaks. And in DC, if you're hip, like Sunday fun day is a big thing. It's not that big in Houston. It's not common for people to do that here. People will go to brunch, then go home, rest up, whatever, and then pop back out for the nightlife. So like the only good place I've been to on Sunday that had like really like day party vibes has been Chapman and Kirby. But if you guys have any other recommendations for places like that, please let me know, because I definitely want to try out some more spots. Y'all might come for me for this one, but the food in Houston has not impressed me. I feel like Houston is really good for like soul food, southern food, things like that, but I was like, I cannot be eating Cajun seafood pasta, lamb chops, and mac and cheese for every meal, you know? Then all the popular Houston-based restaurants all have the same menu, and then a lot of the times they'll be doing lounge as well. So it's like you'll have hookah, and then music so loud you can't even hear the other person speaking. Like, it gets to be a lot. The best restaurants I've been to down here are chain restaurants like Del Frisco's that you can find in any major city. But I want to find something that's unique to here that I can keep going back to. People will come here and ask me what food places they should try, and I don't have an answer for them because I still haven't found my favorite spot out here yet. I feel like it's been good for dining in, but when it comes to quick eats that aren't fast food, like Chick-fil-A or something, like I haven't really found spots like that. Like I miss Meze, I miss Nando's, even Carolina Kitchen. Like I need something. And then I'll say this to Houston natives and they'll be like, oh, you're not going to the right spots then. And then I'll ask them for recommendations, and they'll either provide something where it's not that great either, or they won't provide any type of recommendations. And it's giving either you, one, don't have recommendations, meaning you low-key agree with me, or two, you're gatekeeping. And what are you doing that for? Please, if you're from here or live here, don't gatekeep. Put me on. What are the good places down here? Okay, so outside of the things I've already discussed, I wanted to do a quick pros and cons list. So boom. 1, pro, the weather. I love being warm. I hate being cold. That's one of the reasons I moved from the north to the south. So this is the first year I can remember that I didn't experience seasonal depression, and I really believe that's because the sun was sunny, okay? However, hurricane season is crazy. Like the flooding here, just be prepared for that. Another pro, cost of living. Houston is definitely more affordable than the DMV. Like my apartment here, based on the economy we're in, I'm low-key getting a good price for it. This apartment in DC would have been double the price. Even going out, like the prices of bottles and stuff like that are just cheaper. Next pro is driving. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but I actually like driving in Houston. Like it's all highway. So driving is pretty smooth usually. Like I don't have to go through back roads and things like that. Also, when you exit the highway, there are U-turn lanes. So if you missed your exit or something, you can just go to the next one, make a U-turn, be back on the same highway. Or if you just need to turn around for whatever reason, like I think that's really convenient. We don't have that back in Maryland. A lot of people complain about the traffic, but because there are so many lanes on the highway, you're usually not in it for that long. And coming from someone who's like driven in DC or like the Arlington, Alexandria, Virginia area, like if you've driven in those areas, you can definitely drive in Houston. Like the traffic there is so much worse. The final pro is opportunities for creatives. Houston is a major hub where a lot of people in the creative industry congregate. So if you're a musician, model, things like that, there are more opportunities for you to be put in places where successful people in that field also are in. Also, just keeping it real, I've been in sections with celebrities, gone to private parties with NBA players. Like I would not be in those places if I was still back in Maryland. Moving on to the cons, the first one is walkability. And this might not be a con for you, but me, I like to be able to walk around the city and kind of just explore, you know, just walk into random mom and pop shops, things like that. But here you kind of have to drive everywhere. Like if you don't have a car or like be Ubering or stuff, like it's not very walkable. It's not public transportation friendly. Next con is the scenery. Houston is low-key, Houston is ugly, I'm sorry. Like there's a lot of construction, bad roads, there are no zoning laws, so sometimes the layout of the city just doesn't make sense. Like you'll be like, why is this next to that? It just doesn't add up. A lot of the buildings are very old but lack that visually appealing look to it that old buildings that you would get in like New York or Boston have. Like it's just, they look like abandoned warehouses. There also aren't that many like tall skyscrapers in Houston compared to other major cities, so the skyline isn't that mind-blowing. Houston is very short, I would say, like a lot of short buildings. Also, I like being near water. Like it's not like the DMV where you can go to the National Harbor, go to the wharf, 20 minutes and see like beautiful, you know, bodies of water. You kind of have to drive really far out in Houston. It won't even be Houston at that point. It'll be another city in order for you to get those type of views. The parking here, don't even get me started on parking. Everywhere you go, valet, 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 pay to park. It will be $20, $40 just to park my car in grass and mud. I even had someone try to charge me $100 because it was the last spot in mud left, okay? I feel like they just be making up prices, and sometimes it don't even be real parking attendants. It's just John Doe will come see a parking lot and start scamming people talking about, oh, this costs $40 to park here. Are you crazy? I barely even drive my car to go out now because an Uber is cheaper than having to pay for parking. Like I've had my car for over a year and I only have 5,000 miles on it. I barely drive it now. Like it's ridiculous. Last con I would say are the laws here, and this isn't specific to Houston but Texas as a whole. just has silly laws. Like, why do the liquor stores close at 9 p.m.? I don't want to get into this too much, but my politics differ from what the state aligns with. Like when it comes to things like guns or reproductive rights, I can't. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, so definitely feel free to put some more in the comments. But yeah, I'm gonna move on to the questions that I get a lot. Would I move back to the DMV? Not for the foreseeable future. Like, I definitely do miss my friends a lot, miss a lot of places in DC. Like, I have thought about moving back, but when I really think about it, it's like I moved for a reason. Like, when I think about my previous life, I was very stagnant, very hopeless about my future. Like, things weren't moving for me. I've accomplished a lot more in the last year of moving in Houston, even like the first few months of moving in Houston, that I had in years of living in the DMV. And I don't think that's really a location thing, more so of just a case of living in one place for too long. Because I love the DMV. Like, it checks 90% of the boxes when I think about where I want to settle down. If it didn't have cold seasons and everything wasn't so damn expensive, it'd have everything, honestly. Would you stay in Houston? I really don't see myself settling down here. I feel like it's good for young adults who still want to turn up, party, have fun. But after a while, that stuff gets old and you just really want something a little more chill, laid back. Like, there's almost too much going on. Unless maybe you live in the suburbs, but I don't really want to buy a house in Texas. Like, y'all don't have basements. It's like, I want the vibes of the Northeast, but then the weather and the cost of living of the South. And please point me to what state that's in. Main differences between Houston and Dallas. So I've only been to Dallas 3 times. Once was for a wedding, once was for a business trip, and then once was for Christmas. And each time I only stayed for a day or two. So I haven't really experienced Dallas to the fullest. From what I've observed and heard from people from there, Houston is faster than Dallas, like more of a party city. A lot more going on. It's more culturally diverse as well. Dallas is a little less active when it comes to nightlife. And then it's also a little like classier, more upscale vibes. It's prettier than Houston. And people tend to have more intimate functions in Dallas as well. I'd say if you're a little more bougie and don't really care to be outside like that, like prefer more low-key functions like I am, I would say I would go with Dallas if you're between the two. I've definitely been thinking about moving there, but I do need to explore a little more before I do. And then it's also like, do I really want to move somewhere else in Texas, or do I want to try a new state? I don't know. Do you regret moving to Houston? I don't, because like I said, I've accomplished a lot of goals here, and moving down here really opened my eyes to my potential and has changed my mindset and just outlook on life. I've met a lot of good people here and I've had a lot of good experiences. Do I wish I would have done a little more research or like maybe visited here before packing up all my stuff and moving? Yes. Part of me feels like if I had, I may have picked a different place to move to. I do want to give it another year or so before making a final verdict on whether this was the right move for me. I will say that I am enjoying it a lot more than I was this time last year. So we'll see. That about wraps up my 1-year Houston update. If I missed anything you wanted me to touch on, or if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd also love to hear about your experiences living in Houston, so drop that in the comments as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.